Hello and welcome to the Inquisitorial Archive. My name is Kevin O'Rourke and today I'll be reviewing Mark of the Xenos for Deathwatch, published by Fantasy Flight Games. This is kind of a story book, effectively, a bestiary book or whatever we want to pronounce it, for Deathwatch. You're getting the three main protagonists in here quite a bit for the Jericho Reach setting. So you've got Tau, including Crush and different types of, I think they got stats for Broadside in here, and they've got you know, chaos stuff as well, including the lesser demons. And that's actually one of the things I quite like about the book, is with the stats of lesser demons, they're proper. These guys are individually challenged to Space Marines, you know, lower levels. Like higher levels in the Space Marine characters are really high level. They're a threat, but they're not a huge threat. And each of them are pretty, you know, they're pretty cool. And these are the stats I would use in a Dark Heresy game, because the ones in the back of Dark Heresy core book, not that scary. As well as this, they come out with stats for like like greater demons, which are pretty cool. You end up with some, and some of them have some pretty funky mechanics going on. Like the greater demon of Nurgle. If he hits you and crits, he reduces your toughness permanently. Instead of doing additional damage, he's reducing your toughness permanently. So he could really mess up a character long term, you know, have far more of an impact than other guys. Which is a bit of a double-edged sword, because it could make a character be borderline unplayable, especially because this is permanent toughness damage. They bring in some unique characters like Commander Flamewing. This is kind of a crisis suit Tau guy. They're giving you stats for Tau Ethereal cast, that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, pretty cool. A lot of stuff. If you want to do Sailing Pacific stuff, this is really expanding upon what's in the core book. Because the core book, you're getting very basic stuff. You could run one or two missions with it, and they give some stats for other stuff in some of the other books. But they, if you want to like really vary up the enemies without having to do a lot of work yourself, but you could. If you know Warhammer 40,000 in the background stuff, you very easily could do stuff. But if you just want to make it easy for yourself, because they've got stats for like Great Narlock, Vespid, just from the Tau stuff, pretty nice. And when it comes to the Tyranids, you're getting a lot of additional psychic powers for them. You get a lot of additional psychic powers for the Chaos guys as well, like unique, effectively, like the, you know, classics like Doombolt, that kind of thing. And one of the coolest guys that they introduce here, they introduce like an individual sort of named NPC for each of these guys become as a master. So you've got like that Commander Firewing, and for the Tau, and then you've got the Dagon Overlord, who's a not technically an individual hive tyrant, but if he is killed, then the tyrants will generate him again, but it takes a lot of effort to put him in. So if you kill him, it's actually a big thing, but he'll come back. And he's been killed a couple of times by Deathwatch, so much so that he has developed hatred Deathwatch. So if he sees Deathwatch guys, he hates them. And it's pretty cool that he's supposed to be this, you know, slightly more evolved kind of hive tyrant that they put a lot of effort into. You know, you got stats for gargoyles, lictors, pure strange genius because I've had stats for genius and one or two of the other things. If you don't want to buy this book and you want stats for Genius Stealers for free for your Deathwatch game, they have some stats for Genius Stealer in the free sort of sample scenario they gave out with characters and stuff before they release the game. You can find their supplement section or their support section, Fantasy Flight Games. But the pure strain are a lot deadlier because they haven't been diluted with other genes, and I think they've kind of making a distinction between pure train Genius Stealers and non-pure train. Pure strain. And these are actually, yeah, they're proper Genius Stealers. They're not hybrids, but the pure strain are the guys fresh from the hive fleet kind of type thing. You've got stats for Raveners, pretty nice. Ripper Swarms, and they're given a decent bit of background plus some adventure hooks. And they've got some utterly terrifying things like the Trigon and stuff here, which are horribly big, dangerous monsters. One of the things I haven't seen before, I think they'll probably put into one of the codex or something at one stage, is the Tyranid Warrior Prime, which I think is a great, it's kind of a lieutenant more so than the other Tyranid Warriors are. It's kind of an underling. If you want to put a leadership guy in there for without having to put in like a hive tyrant, you want something a bit deadlier than Tyranid Warrior. They're pretty cool. You could stick with them there, especially for lower levels. Tyrant Guard is going to really increase the deadliness of your hive tyrant because they can keep him alive, which is a bit of a problem sometimes in Deathwatch. The Venom Trope, pretty sexy, and Zone Trope. You're getting a lot of your classics here. And you get your Chaos guys. including stats for like Plague Marines, Obliterators, that kind of thing. You know, a lot of the classic stuff you want. But as well as this, you do get a few things aside from mainstay stuff, like you get orcs. And they're pretty good orcs, although why they have a lot of rules, like just bite-sized, small versions of the rules that they put in with Rogue Trader for their orc PCs rules. All the orcs have dodge in this. They don't in the other ones. And really confused and frustrated players. And stats for an Orc Core boss, although at 55 wounds with Deathwatch, he is going to die. That is a small, crappiest Orc Core boss in my opinion that you could throw at the players. If you are not using the errated stats, he could very easily just drop like that. If you're using the errated stats, even though they're nerfing the Space Marine guns and stuff a bit, on the premise of, well, they're saying so you have to roll less dice. It's really so the bad guys actually last roll, he's still probably going to die. We got stats for Megan Ob, things like that, and a big mech wizard, which is pretty cool because he's actually, it's this big mech who's actually after looting a Tau shield generator, and he's got like a chain on it and stuff and he keeps running, so it's force field from him. But what I do like is they're putting in stats for something like a Brule Parasite, which is kind of like a mind control kind of type creature which can burrow into someone, that kind of type thing. The Crotolid, which is pretty nasty. They've come to the back and forth. They're like alligators who migrate through the warped worlds, so you can end up with stampedes of them effectively coming. Diablodon, which is scary ass dinosaur. The Lacrimole. Lacrimole is something from the background which the first time I saw it anyway was in the Inquisitor book. Way back before they even touched role-playing games, really. So for 40k anyway. And it's just shape-shifting kind of an alien kind of thing. So like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like him. And they've got Luxatl Mercenaries, which for those of you who likes Gaunt's Ghosts, you're going to be familiar with them. They're these kind of weird lizardy type aliens who can crawl up walls onto roof, things like that. And they've got these flechette blaster kind of type things that they've got in their chest, and they're able to shoot these guns. It was like, yeah, they're pretty funky if you want to throw something at somebody that might not necessarily be familiar with stuff, or if they are, they're with them. And they get a nice section. They've got a Radical Inquisitor as another named NPC. And they go off with nice stats for stuff like apostate cardinals and their bodyguards, things like that. Guys who basically they might believe in the Imperium, or they might not, but these apostate cardinals are from the worlds that they might still believe in the Emperor, but they don't believe in the Crusade, don't believe in that Imperium that's coming, which is very interesting because the reforms after the Age of Apostasy hadn't fully set in yet by the time Jerk Reach was lost. So some of these places basically are, and rightly, even if they're the same doctrine now, they're looking at the Imperium going, no, that's wrong, you're full of heretics. Which is kind of an interesting way to go with it. But at the same time, you could easily just have a cardinal who's gone over to chaos kind of thing, has twisted the whole thing. And actually, one of my favourite NPCs that they put in here is Magus Viserys, or something like that, it's pronounced anyway. He is a Magus who's gone over to, he's like, remember, Dark Mechanicus kind of thing, but he's obsessed with Space Marines, and he will actually actively hunt Space Marines because he's obsessed with well, he's not obsessed with Space Marines, he's obsessed with gaining knowledge, information, and he's become a bit obsessed with Space Marines' capacity to eat the brains of people and stuff like that and gain their knowledge. It's like pretty cool. And they've got a lot of funky little things like here, like new interesting stuff like the Slinar War Machine, which is his suit that you put on, and it basically consumes you, and it gives you the power, like it can shoot like bolts of energy out of its hand, which are effectively working like a plasma cannon or something similar to that. And you go around, you're like really powerful. It's like, oh, it's really cool. But eventually it starts consuming you and burn away at your soul. That's the way they kind of view it. Is like, and you got the Spire Slayer, these deadly machines. Like, you know, all sorts of, if you want to do something a bit different, some of these things, because all you need is like one or two, and you can have kind of a hunt thing going through a hive world, that kind of stuff. When it comes to Force of Chaos, like I said, you got your demons, you got your psychic powers, you got lots of nice stuff to keep the players in there. Plus, you know, stats for blight grenades, that kind of thing. And I'll give you a section on buffing up some of the bag and stuff. What is nice, what's really nice, is they give additional horde traits, which make the hordes a bit more varied and a bit more interesting. They got some of the core book, but they're expanding on them here, and it works out pretty well. I won't ramble on too much about them because it's pretty much what you see is what you get. It's, yeah, I'd say it's worth picking up if you want to run Deathwatch. if you have some of the other 40k RPG books that are giving you stats for other monsters, you don't really need to pick it up so much. The stats are different in this. They're more geared towards playing fighting against Space Marines. For example, if you have Chronos Bestiary, that has stats for Eldar, and that has stats for Orcs and things. They are not geared towards fighting Space Marines. Sometimes it's not necessarily the best idea to cross-pollinate some of the stats stuff. Sometimes you just don't have stats. But when you're looking at like Eldar stuff, I would look at, you can find on the Fantasy Flight Games website, they've got I think it's Nathan Dowdle or something. He's one of the freelance writers that he comes up with some of the stuff for the RPGs. He has rules for Orcs. If you find his profile thing, he's got in his signature. If you find Fantasy Flight Games forums, on his signature he's got a link to some of the stuff he's done, where he came up with stats for Orcs for Deathwatch, and he came up with stats for Eldar for Deathwatch. One of the interesting things to do with Eldar is the aspect wires effectively had squad, and they have squad attack patterns and defensive patterns, and unique. So they're pretty much a lot deadlier enemies, because they've got this thing. It's like, well, Space Marines don't necessarily have to be the only ones who have squad modes. It's just it shouldn't become a common thing. I don't give Chaos Space Marines squad modes because they don't really have. So they know them. They don't have the cohesion to get it done a lot of the time. Newly converted guys, or guys like the Blood Gorgons, if you know their background, yeah, they should have the cohesion to do it. And aspect wise, if you want to throw something different at your players, definitely I think they're worthwhile. I think the book is a good buy if you don't have a lot of the other 40k RPG stuff, and you want to run a Deathwatch game and have varied enemies, because you don't get a huge amount of enemies in the core book. You get some additional stats and scenario books and different things like that, but it's worth buying if you're going that approach. Like I said, if you have a lot of 40k RPG and stuff, you just need to maybe, if some from Dark Heresy books, just need to bump up its stats a bit, but you don't really need to buy this book. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you again. Goodbye.